Hey, welcome to the Philosophy Podcast. I am your host, Controversy, and to my right, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host, none other than Mr.
Darren Love, the most caring person in the world.
And together, we are the Philosophy Podcast. Thank you to you guys for tuning in to a brand new episode. Thank you for tuning in once again this week, guys. And yeah, without further ado, what are we talking about today, mate? What is today's hot topic?
I thought, talk about compassion and empathy.
So, compassion and empathy.
Yeah.
So, this week, we are talking about
compassion and empathy.
That's it. What are your thoughts and your opinions and your, what's your kind of mindset on compassion and empathy?
I think, personally, I think like people really lost the compassion. I think they used to have more compassion, and I think it's a shame that there wasn't, people didn't have more compassion in the world really, and they didn't have more empathy.
Yeah.
Because it's quite a beautiful thing to have in a way, I feel like I'm somebody, I feel like I've got more compassion than most people out there, and I feel that I've had compassion all my life really,
Yeah.
since I was a child really, like I said, I've said it in previous episodes, I fell in love with the insects,
Nature.
Well, yeah, and I'm very compassionate about elephants, and most animals in the kind of way, do you know what I mean? I know that they've got feelings too.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And they got the same senses as us almost, do you know what I mean? They can hear the same things, the pigeons can hear the buses,
Yeah,
and the motorbikes and the roundabouts, just like we can. And I understand this, and I think empathy, to have empathy, you've got to have understanding and compassion. And I think the more compassion you've got actually, the more understanding you've got really to life itself.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm finding as I'm getting older, I am even getting more compassionate actually. And appreciate, I appreciate life a lot more, as I'm getting older. We've spoken about that one before.
Of course, yeah.
And I just feel like I'm just getting more peaceful as I'm getting older.
Well, I think generally most people tend to kind of mellow as they say as they get older, and become even more peaceful and loving and more in touch with life, and kind of like, because as we get older, the older you get, the more you become, the more you get more in touch with your own mortality. When you're younger, you don't really think about it so much, but generally as you get older, you start to realise what's really important, and and what really matters in life, and you kind of, usually by a certain point as well, you've kind of figured out the kind of person that you are, and what drives you in life, and what you're passionate about, and if you're one of these people like kind of like me and you, who are like continuously striving to like get better as a human being, so like every day we're making a conscious decision to think better, to do better, to act better, to the way we think, the way we act, the way we speak, our demeanour, everything about us to be like I
think we're all trying to be perfect, aren't we?
Well, we can't. No one can be perfect, as we know, but to strive towards perfection is always a good idea, because it's like I was just saying, me and you, we're essentially trying to be as righteous as we can be, if you see what I mean. In a sense, if you get what I mean, we're trying to live as clean, and like have a clean heart, clean mind, clean conscience, not have any like hate or anything towards anyone else, or unforgiveness, or anything, if you see what I mean. Just live like, just treating people right, being kind, being polite, being respectful, being empathetic, like we're talking about tonight, compassionate, of course, all these things, just being a good, trying your best to be a good human being, and when you're doing that, you're doing it for yourself, because you feel within your heart and within your mind and within yourself that it is your kind of goal and your kind of duty to kind of evolve as you know, to evolve more as a human being, you know, to strive to be better, you know. We've all got flaws, like we talk about all the time. So, you know, that's what it's about, you know, it's about...
Yeah, I'm not perfect, you know.
Yeah.
Myself, you know, I've got flaws, you know, like for instance, I know that I smoke.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You know, that's something that I've always enjoyed, do you know what I mean? But I know it's one of my, you know, one of my things that I should be doing really, you know. I'd be out of help if I didn't, you know, do you know what I mean? You know, and it's like, you know, your memories, they belong to you, do you know what I mean? And it's like, if you do good things today, and amazing things, alright, you're going to have that memory for the rest of your life, you see, yeah? You know? But if you do something bad, so if you have that intelligence, alright, of knowing, alright, that if you do something bad today, alright, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life, and you want to forget it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you won't be able to forget it. That's the problem, you see.
But some people, though, right, mate, I tell you, right, mate, because I've been there before as well. When I was much, much younger in my teenage years, and where I was going through a real phase where I was really hot-headed and really, like, into a lot of shit, like, that I become, honestly, when I reflect, I'm so glad that I changed as a human being as I got older, and I realised that, you know, at a young age, and I kind of fixed it and worked on it and kind of evolved. But at one point in my life too, I was one of those people, like a lot of people out there, mate, that was in a certain position in my life, a certain environment, a certain circumstance, that you start to become a little bit cold-hearted in a way. Start to become a little bit cold-hearted, and it's almost like sometimes you can't have a conscience, if that makes sense. That having a conscience could you know, have bad ramifications for you, you know, if you see what I mean, you know, if you're not, you know. And I realised because of my environment and because of the lot of shit I was involved in and certain things I got caught up in and whatever else that I was doing, whatever, I realised that it had made me into that, it turned me into that kind of person, if you see what I mean. And I was still the person that I am today deep down inside, but that had been buried, if you see what I mean. The real me had been buried and isolated and kind of locked away, and I just become a product of my environment in a way, and become quite, you know, like, you know, I was kind of, it was, you know, that mentality of rather you than me, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Instead of being on a peaceful, you know, like a vibe like I am today, you know, have been for a while, peaceful, loving, positive, etc. kind of vibe. Like, I wasn't on that back then. You know, like, you know.
So I mean, you can go down the wrong paths by hanging around the wrong people, basically, you know, and hanging around the wrong people. You want to sort of like entertain them sometimes, you know, and do naughty things with them, you know, do you know what I mean, and go down the same path as them, you know what I mean. But then you sort of think, hang on, there's different paths out there, do you know what I mean? There's
but that's
so many different paths.
The reason that I mentioned that is because of what you were saying though. I know there's some people out there, mate, that they have done so much shit in their life, mate, that they no longer have a conscience.
I know.
If you see what I mean. That doing things to people, doing shit that, certain things to them might be normal that would never be normal to regular people.
Yeah, no.
If you get what I'm saying, like, you know.
But like I say, some people have not had no parents, no upbringing, you know, no love as a child. You know, and a child that has no love, they don't learn love. You know, they don't learn how to love because they're not being loved. You know what I mean? You know, so I think there's lots of different situations out there. Again, do you know what I mean? Different circumstances, different people.
Yeah.
And they've got different backgrounds.
Yeah.
You know, I do really find it all down to education. You know, and
true.
We're living in a very modern world. You know.
We live in a very selfish world today too, as well.
Well, it's also very noisy, if you ask me. You know, because you know, 50 years ago it wasn't this noisy. I'm telling you. You know, there weren't so many alarms. Well, the alarms weren't invented back then. 50 years ago, telling you know. Well, actually, it might have been.
Might have been, yeah.
Because you had the phones.
Yes.
Yeah. And they used to ring, yeah. So yeah, okay. But they come along, you know. They're on shops now. They're on cars. Everywhere, you know. I mean, there's a car near me, right, and it's parked opposite, and it goes off every hour, like beep beep, you know.
Yeah, bloody annoying.
Every hour it goes off, right, and it's really quite annoying, you know. And I think, hang on, you know, like, I'm trying to sleep here, you know. I've got my window open, do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, and it's. So we're living, you know...
Disturbing your peace.
Well, people, you know, over the last 100 years, we've invented motors, you know, and they're everywhere, you know, like lawnmowers, hairdryers, you name it, right, they're everywhere. you know, we love motorists, you know, and some of them are quite noisy, you know, I think, you know, especially some, you know, some engines are just, you know, they vibrate.
Yeah.
This place, you know what I mean? Even with my windows shut, I can still hear it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, hang on, you know, it's breaking the noise barrier. Do you know what I mean? In the kind of way, you know. And you got to think, like 100 years ago, it was peaceful.
Yeah.
People could think more.
Yeah, true.
Honestly, you know, and it's like I could just hear a car going past there, you know, and I got my window shut. Do you know what I mean? You know, and that was quiet car.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think we're living in a very, very noisy world in a kind of way, you know, and we're all living in the same world.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I can even hear the buzz sometimes at night time. Do you know what I mean? Of the noise at at night, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, we live with machines all around us today. You know.
Yeah. Well, I must say, talking about noise, there used to be a gentleman that every morning, I guess he lived in the same road as me or whatever the case may be, but he's got a motorbike, and he would leave at 4:30 every morning. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And the reason that I know it's 4:30 because a few times when he first used to do it, it woke me up. So obviously I was check the time. You know, he obviously leaves to work at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
But when he turns the bike on, it makes a noise, of course.
Yeah.
It's quite a loud bike. And then when he obviously drives down the road to go off to work, you know, at that early time in the morning, it's loud as anything, mate. And it used to wake me up all the time. But I must, you know, he must have moved out, or he must have, I don't know, he must have moved or something because, you know.
Then you get these.
Thank God, you know.
You get these bumblebee motorbikes, I call them. You know, you get really loud. You know.
Yeah.
You know, but we're like I say, we're living in a very noisy world today. You know, and this is the modern world we're living in. You know. And people have got to drive today. You know, they're forced to drive in a funny way. You know, because they've got to, you know, go to work. You know, and then a lot of people work in factories with noise again. You know.
Yeah.
We're living in a very noisy world today.
Yeah. And funny enough, too, there's a guy that lives to the right hand side of me as well. He's a young guy, and he's just bought this little motorbike, this little like scooter motorbike, like a tiny little one, right? And every morning, it's obviously a kickstart bike, if you see what I mean. So every morning, he's there for a good 5 to 10 minutes, kickstarting this bloody bike. Just to get it running, you know what I mean? I mean, it's a tiny little thing, like one of these little scooters that, you know what I mean, one tiny little, like a little 50 engine or whatever it is, little 100 engine in it or something, like, you know, one of these little tiny ones, small ones. A little L plate on the back, but every morning, like, you know what I mean? And like, you know, you know what I mean? He's doing that for like 5-10 minutes because this bike's obviously had it. And he needs a new bike or something needs changes. He needs some spark plugs or something, spark plugs for the bike or something. And he spends, honestly, a good 10 minutes until the bike finally gets obviously warmed up enough till he gets it to come to life and he can go, you know?
But to be honest with you, I don't understand it in a kind of way because some people, right, actually think that, you know, the noisier the bike, the better. You know, they're going to get more attention or something, or the better person they are or something, you know, because I've got a noisy bike and I've got the noisiest bike in the world. Look at me, alright, whatever. You know, I just don't understand it in a kind of way, you know, it's like they don't love birds.
Yeah.
Or something, you know, or they don't love nature anymore, you know, because it, you know, I'm not...
I think half of them don't even think about the noise, mate.
You know, I can understand people loving motorbikes, do you know what I mean? I really do.
I think that's what it is. I think half of those people don't even think about the noise, they're just so captured in what they're doing and kind of, you know.
You know, I can understand it in a kind of way, you know, where, you know, like riding a bike is quite a beautiful thing, you know.
Yes.
You know, in America they don't, I don't know whether the laws changed, but they never used to wear helmets, you know.
Oh, they probably have to now.
In this country, you got to wear helmets, you know, it comes in the 60s, I think, you know, whatever.
But there's always a lot more bike deaths as well. I remember at one point as well, especially like when the bikes first came out, there were a lot of bike deaths, if you see what I mean. And I remember being young and they even had...
Oh, I've seen one.
Yeah.
I've seen one, you know, I saw this guy go through a traffic light underneath a coach and his head come off.
Ooh,
you know, and that's why I don't like...
shit.
That's why I find...
Decapitated, bruv.
Yeah, that's why I find it quite hard, you know, that's why I can never ride and, you know, get on a motorbike. Really.
And you saw one there, he didn't die, that guy didn't die as well, but there was one there as well, wasn't there? A motorbike and a car, he must have had he must have broke his back or broke his legs.
It looked like his legs were broken actually, you know, he was in pain, you know, and it's like when someone crashes, you know, there's a major accident on the road. So
that's the thing with a bike. If you get in a crash on a bike, you're not not saying that you're particularly safe in a car, but you're safer in a car. You're more, you know what I mean? If the car or whatever it is drives into the passenger side and there's no one in that side and you're the main driver and you don't get hit, then you're more protected, aren't you? But on a bloody bike, you get hit from any angle.
Well, you're more likely to die, aren't you?
But even at a very low speed, driving a car at 10, 20 miles an hour, you hit someone on the bike, they're still going to fly off, even at that speed. So imagine getting hit at 50, 60, 70, 80, you know what I mean, God forbid, 100 miles an hour. That's it.
That's it, you know.
You know?
So they are quite dangerous. Well,
so,
to me, all cars are dangerous, alright? You know, that's my opinion of them, right? They're all dangerous, you know, because they kill everything, you know, like birds or whatever, you know. And to me, they're just dangerous things, you know. And what I'm trying to say earlier on, alright, like when there is a major accident of some kind, you know.
Yeah.
So someone phones up police, whatever, and the ambulance comes along, whatever. The police normally blocks off the road.
Of course, yeah.
Even if I mean, with that motorbike one. Right?
Yeah.
They didn't need to block it all off, but they did.
They did, yeah, of course.
You know, and it's like blocked off for a good 3 hours, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Right, but they block off, and then they come along with a duster and brush, and then put the body into the ambulance, whether it's dead or alive. You know?
Yes.
But this one, he was fortunate to be alive still, do you know what I mean, yeah? Then they just clear off, you know, and all these major accidents happen all the time, all around the country. You know, I mean, I don't know how many accidents around the country were today, but I can guarantee you there are more than 10. Do you know what I mean? There's probably a girl knocked over today as well, killed. Do you know what I mean, yeah? You know, there's someone killed every day.
Many people killed every day.
Yeah, you know, not just, you could be the best driver in the world and you get hit by a bad driver on the opposite side, you know what I mean?
But yeah, also too, you get sometimes in really like bad scenarios as well, where you, like you said, you got people who are really good drivers, but all of a sudden someone decides to run across the road or something, like, you know what I mean, decides to chance it, or decides to do something a bit silly, or someone else in a car or a motorbike doing something silly themselves. And like you said, sometimes no matter how good of a driver you might be, you might not be able to navigate around it or be able to brake in time to prevent hitting the person or hitting.
I'll tell you another story, yeah. I was in my last year of school, okay, in the senior, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and not far off from leaving, let's put it that way, yeah. And I was going home, and I had two friends in front of me. They were walking about 20 metres in front of me, right, yeah? And I was walking with two friends, sorry, he was walking with two friends either side of him. Okay, and Cormac Kempsey was in the middle, and I was walking and I was walking about 20 metres behind him with another friend. Okay?
You were lucky, mate.
Right, and then we were walking for a cutway, okay? And this car come flying through, he went through 3 gardens, and then hit him through the cutway, alright? And he went underneath the car, and his legs were on his back, like that, yeah, and he broke his back, alright, and he was paralysed for life. He got over £1 million for it.
Yeah, but still, mate, no matter, to be honest,
he couldn't talk.
No amount of money.
He couldn't talk afterwards.
No amount of money can compensate you for that. All that money is going to do is help your family to look after you, to pay the best healthcare providers that might be around, to help you have some kind of quality of life after that. But you can't be compensated for that, mate.
No.
You know.
The guy that come off the road and went through the cutway was having an epileptic fit. He shouldn't have been on the road, you know what I mean? Whatever, but you know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, even when you're driving along, alright, you could fall asleep.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens, yeah. Alright, or you can have a heart attack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can sneeze, you know, and people crash, you know what I mean? They're very dangerous weapons in a funny way, you know, in a kind of way. I think, I look at it like we're not allowed to have guns, but we're allowed to have cars.
Yeah.
You know, and even an airplane's very dangerous.
Oh,
as you
of course.
can see,
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah.
what it did to the Twin Towers, you know. And like cars, they do get used sometimes as terrorist attacks as well.
Yeah, well, it's happened not too long ago in the recent last, well, I was going to say about 4 or 5 years ago it happened, didn't it?
You know, and I'm just thinking, hang on, you know, we got certain laws on the road, you know, like for instance, you're only allowed to drive 75 miles per hour at the fastest down on the motorway.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but I'm thinking, like, I'm worried that all these laws, you know, people start breaking, do you know what I mean? And it gets out of control, do you know what I mean? You know, do you know what I mean? And people can do what they want. You know, that would be a really dangerous world, you know. But I mean, these cars that they build nowadays, they're capable of doing like 200 miles per hour, really.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're only allowed to go 75 miles per hour, which is bizarre. You know, and you think, hang on, why build a car that can go really fast, even faster than that, do you know what I mean? 250 miles per hour.
Yeah.
But you're only allowed to go 75 miles, you know, do you know what I mean? So
why
buy a car?
But it's funny though, what you got to think about it too, some of these cars are made in places where they've got roads.
Yeah, Germany.
Where they're actually allowed to drive up to a certain speed because it's just one straight road and people are allowed to drive up to like 150 miles an hour or something ridiculous on certain roads. Not every road, of course, but
in
certain.
Germany especially.
Yes. So that's part of it too as well, where they're manufactured, you know.
But you see, like, cars are everywhere, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? You can see what it's doing, right? That's why we've got no butterflies today.
And I think the same in Italy as well too, because don't forget, Ferrari and Lamborghini, two of the fastest cars on the planet, essentially, are made in Italy.
Yeah.
Are Italian. Ferrari and a Lamborghini, they're both Italian. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm sure they must have roads and that kind of thing as well, somewhere they can drive those kind of cars. And
but I think, like, people, because we've got cars, right, and people, you know, it's kind of like we've evolved into a car world now.
Yeah.
I mean, in the last 100 years. And I think because of that, people have lost compassion and empathy.
Well, I don't think that's only part of it, mate. I think, like that's what I was talking about earlier. I think the world has become very selfish today because we live in a world today, like we talk about all the time, where there's so much pressure on people, the average person, to survive. You know what I mean? Like, you know, especially if you're on your own and you're trying to survive and you're working and, you know, etc. Like the average working person today is under a lot of pressure to the point where not only are they probably working anywhere between 40 to 60 hours a week, you know, you might have kids, you know what I mean, you've got a house to look after, you've got other things to do, you might have your own goals and aspirations and things you want to work towards as well, that taking up your time and your energy and your effort, like, you know, and lots of other things. Like, there's so much going on in people's lives today, I think, that people, it just happens naturally where people just become kind of very much in their own little bubble because they've just got so much going on. It's very hard for them to think about anything outside of that, if you see what I mean. And it's not them intentionally being selfish, even though there are some people who are just selfish, of course, but I don't think it's always intentional. I think these people are just so encapsulated.
Well, we're living in a world where you have got to look after yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and you ain't got time to look after anyone else, have you, really, or care about anyone else, because you just got to really think about your own self to survive, really, aren't you?
Yeah.
In a funny way, you know, or in your own family, you know?
Like we always say, everyone is the centre of their own universe. If you see what I mean. Everyone, of course. It's like me, I've got a wife and kids and family, friends, you know, loved ones, you know.
I did have a family.
That I look after,
Growing up now.
You know, I have to find the balance between making sure I'm okay, because you've got to make sure you're okay in order to make sure everyone else can be okay. You see what I mean? But yeah. What are you saying there?
I think empathy and compassion is something that you do slowly learn in life, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was a child, like I said, I think I said before, I used to be pretty cruel in a funny way, you know, but, you know, like I used to kill the insects.
Yeah.
Back then, you know, when I was a little child, you know, but then I learned to love them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't think, like a child, anyone's born with it. I think that it's got to be taught in a kind of way, or educated.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
You know, like so we're living in a modern world with electric motors and things, and a lot of entertainment, like we, you know, said before. You know, like there's lots of things to do in this world, isn't there? You know, and it's quite a pick in it. I mean, even when you go shopping, right, there's lots to pick from.
Lots of options, lots of,
you know. Even when you go for washing up liquids, there's lots of different brands.
Which is good. Which is good. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to have choice. As human beings, you should be able to have choice, and you should be able to choose whether or not you want to buy the most expensive or the cheapest. You know, depending on what your financial situation is, or depending on which one you prefer. You know. So, you know, I think choice is good, but I think there's also sometimes that illusion of choice, where some things are made by the same company, but they just got different names. If you see what I mean, you know, different prices, different kind of like marketing strategies, and kind of like you know, whatever, you know, to make the consumer think that they've got that you know, think they've got choice. If you see what I mean, so they buy into it more. But sometimes it is an illusion. Not always, but sometimes, you know. So.
I think it's, you know.
But I think where people have become so selfish, mate, so self-indulged to a lot of people through social media and other things today, a lot of people have become so self-indulged, if you see what I mean, that all they care about is themselves and no one else, they don't have any, you know, like you said, any compassion or empathy for other people, you know, like, you know. But I think once you're the type of person that's kind of like me and you, mate, that are kind of like in tune with like our conscience, like, and we, you know, we know what is right and what is wrong, and we're trying to do what is right. You know what I mean? We've made that decision consciously, you know, and we're making an effort to work towards that every day. If you see what I mean, you know. And no one's perfect. Sometimes you have bad days, you have good days, you know. But we're always striving to be better. But there's some people out there, mate, that are so self-indulged that they just lack any form of compassion or empathy for others. They cannot put themselves in other people's shoes, or relate to other people that might be going through something really hard or tough or painful, or, you know, whatever at the time, you know. They just, you know, they're just unable to do that.
I think there's lots of different types of intelligence, ain't you?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like some people don't know to cook. You know, and I think like that's one intelligence, you know how to cook. Or, you know, just there's lots of different intelligence, you know. I think, you know, you know, intelligence of knowing what's right and what's wrong.
But I think, like, what's that old saying? You know, we like our old sayings on this show, mate. But
not another old saying.
What's that saying? It's trying the same things and expecting different results is insanity. Something along those lines. Yeah? The quote goes something along those lines. Trying the same things over and over and expecting different results is a form of insanity. And to me that just makes perfect sense. It's like, if you're trying to get a certain result or a certain outcome or a certain desired achievement or whatever, and you're trying one thing for a period of time, a certain strategy, certain whatever, and it's not working, you have to go back to the drawing board, you have to reevaluate, you have to, you know, so, you know, yeah. It's like, for me, the ultimate goal, in my opinion, as human beings, is to continually become a better version of ourselves in every area and aspect of our lives, as friends, as sons, as husbands, as fathers, as individuals, as etc. You know, we all have different. We all wear different hats and have a lot of different labels associated to us, you know. Like, for me, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a friend, I'm a etc, etc, etc. The labels, you know, go on. But the goal is to become the best version of myself in every area of those, in every area of life and every aspect of life, you know. Otherwise, what's the point? You know? If you're not growing or maturing or evolving or progressing or doing something productive, then what is the point?